Hey, thanks for tuning in to Marketing with Moody. I'm Austin Moody, and today we have Harrison Ebert with Last Cowboy Signs. Hey, Harrison, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So, Harrison, for all those that don't know what Last Cowboy Signs what is Last Cowboy Signs?
Full service sign production from start to finish, design, fabrication, and implementation.
Okay. And getting into signs, like that's something like a lot of young adults, I feel like they get into the clothing brands and they get into, digital marketing, or they get into, but signs, that's how did you get into signs?
Kind of lucky, kind of unlucky. Fell into it. Was born and raised. Was an entrepreneur. Did a bunch of different things. Signs just kind of, you always have a future in them. Businesses need brick and mortar stores. Businesses need to advertise to bring in money. Mm-hmm. Seems like the long-term future there.
Got it. Okay, so it's kind of like an opportunity that you just noticed, and you were like, hey, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing it for?
Simply my whole life, but in business for myself about 2 years.
Okay, what do you mean your whole life?
I was born into the sign company. My father owned a sign company. Unluckily and luckily, I was raised in that world, so I've seen the dynamics change since I was 16 to say when I started.
Got it. Okay. So you were kind of born into it, and you realized that it was a world worth going into.
Absolutely.
And then you decided to branch off and do it on your own.
Absolutely.
How scary was that?
Inherently very scary. I was a single father at the time.
So you had kids at this time. You opened up the business as a father.
Yes, sir. One of those things where it was a leap of faith. You know what you want to do with your life. You see the potential. You see the growth. You start making connections as a young age when you're in the business, and you just took that leap.
Yeah. So, a gentleman we had on our podcast last week had mentioned that he started his business. He wanted to start his business before, he had kids for the sole purpose of. It's kind of it lowers your risk in a sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's being an entrepreneur is a risky business.
Absolutely.
So that had to be super scary for you, being a dad, having to provide, starting a business, because entrepreneurship isn't for the weak. Isn't for someone who's going to quit when things get hard. It's kind of like I've said this before in earlier podcast. Entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down.
Yep.
So you've had some similar experiences, I'm sure.
Very similar. Entrepreneurship's all about just winging it, like so to speak, figuring out what works in times where nothing else is working, figuring out the one option that you can go when there's 15 different ones, but the one gets you where you need to be financially, whether we're talking a product finishing, a product outlook. Entrepreneurship's all about finding the hard path, but makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of figuring it out.
Exactly.
No one, we've said this before, no one's coming to save you.
No.
If you mess up and you own it. Like that's it. Like you answer to anything that goes wrong, and very rarely do you even get the credit when it goes right.
I mean, that's the American dream, is it not?
Yeah, very true. Absolutely.
You want to answer to no one but yourself. You got to take the wins and the losses. Unfortunately, there are a lot of losses, but you got to build character.
Yeah, and you also got to just have to realize that, with the losses come learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I heard one guy one time say, when he takes an L, he doesn't take it as a loss, he takes it as a learning process. Or a learning
easier said than done, but absolutely.
Very true. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier said than done, because some of those losses can be very painful, and some of them could be lasting.
Very lasting.
It's like some losses you feel for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
When you got into the business of, in the sign business, you had to go out, and the first thing, well, maybe not the first thing you had to do was, I'm sure, establish your business and exactly how you were going to go about, operations and stuff. But at some point you had to say, okay, I need clients.
Yeah.
What was that process like?
I had some pre-existing clients being a salesman for my father's business. Mm-hmm. It was mainly communication and letting them know what was going on, that I was branching out. And then when you make those first few clients, you just don't stop cold calling. You treat them like babies, and they are your golden baby, and you make connections through that. And business, I'm not college graduated. Business is all about connections. Business is all about networking, finding out who wants to have your back. In a world full of 1,000 fishes, there's one person that'll have your back. Mm-hmm. Business is about finding that person.
Absolutely. Going out and finding those deals. Now, I'm sure the pipeline of connections you had while the connections you built while in your dad's company, I'm sure that dried up at some point. Like, you had to go and find.
Yes, to an extent.
Okay.
But what do you mean by that? If you make those lasting connections beforehand, when I was selling for him, you want to have a personal connection with every client you have. You want them to feel like you're best friends, and when you are, even if you're not, you want them to feel they're number one. Yeah. And so when you make your transition, in a perfect world, those people already have that connection with you. Mm-hmm. They trust you. You've already sold them a product in the past.
What do you do nowadays to go out and find new deals or new contacts?
Social media would probably be the number one, if not from pre-existing clients, word of mouth. Social media, being a young business, it's the number one thing you can do, I think, is being all over social media, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And you don't have to do crazy reels. It's consistency in posting, letting people know what products you offer, what you can do, the innovations you're bringing to the industry, et cetera.
With our clients, at Mach 1, we have to educate them on, how to go about, how our team goes about posting and, running paid ads and, things like email campaigns and, the creative side of things. But we have a whole team that does that. We have a whole team that does creative and content and, campaign development. You do that for...
I'm the one and only guy.
So you do that yourself?
Yes, sir.
Which is, that's
you got to look at it as a fun chore, because it's going to be a chore. But
chore.
But it's necessity.
I like that. It's
a fun chore. You got to look. If you don't have fun in your business, you're not going to succeed. So the little itty bitty things, you got to take fun in doing that.
Absolutely.
Edit the picture however you want. I'm not good at it. You can check my social medias and find out that we're not the best. But it's
But you're doing it.
I'm not trying. I'm making an effort and consistently trying. Hopefully people see that,
Yeah.
And one day we'll have multiple people that do our social medias, but until then, you're looking at them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's super interesting because earlier, I was talking to someone and they were like, how do I get started? They were asking me, how do I get started in business? I would love to get started. And I told them, get started.
Yeah, no one knows what they're doing when they're first starting. Look, I'm in this. I've been in this industry. No one knows what they're doing. They do, but they don't.
I've noticed that.
It's whatever industry. People, it's the way the world works.
When I was, a little bit younger, I was working with a business coach. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, it's hard to look around and see all these companies that have all their stuff together, and we don't. And she looked at me and said, Austin, I coach small, medium, and big businesses. Yep. None of them have their stuff together. Yep. They are all trying to make progress, get to the next level, and they're all making mistakes every day. Yep. And then once I started, working with a little bit of a larger demographic than what we've used to work with, we've noticed that. I know Mach 1 marketing, when we first started, we were working with startups and small businesses. Mm-hmm. And it was normal to see really a lack of standard operating procedures for this and that. But then when we started working with larger companies, we noticed the same thing. Yep. It was like they don't have this. They don't have this figured out. Yep. When you're working with someone and they want to sign, but they don't know what they want, what's that process like?
It tends to be more rare now that we're in 2024 in the digital age. Everyone's got a computer. I would say if you've been contemplating starting a business, whatever industry you're in, you've probably messed around on Canva and you've probably designed your logo. Who, you know, if you're dreaming in that world, who hasn't done that?
Yeah.
So that tends to be the first start. We look at their logo and we get it transferred into the right format that's needed. If you have a brick and mortar store already, or you're looking at one, we go there, get surveys, measurements, check with the city code to see what you're allowed to have, because certain cities have different codes. You can't have this, can't have that. And then we go from there and we design and find a price point that works.
Okay, so it's a little bit less common for you to run into someone who doesn't know what they want nowadays than it was.
Yes. 20 years, the sign industry's changed dramatically. You know, my grandfather started the sign business. Everything was done by hand. There were hand painters. I do nothing by hand almost. Everything's computer made. The machines make all the letters. We have printers doing the top part. So the industry has vastly changed, and now everyone has a computer. So everyone already knows what they want predetermined. Whereas 20 years ago, you came to the sign guy, told him your vision, and he created something.
Yeah, it was kind of like almost like a let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Exactly.
Got it. You said your grandpa started
Yes, sir.
the sign.
In the 70s, he started Martin Sign Company, and then that transformed into Ebert Sign Company.
Got it. And then you went off and did to Last Cowboy Signs.
Sir.
Speak to us on, like, what does that mean that you're doing? You're a third generation into the sign industry, you know, doing what your family has done.
It's pretty cool. I like to think I'm carrying on what he would like to do, and in the way he would like to do it, why I started my own business, because I wanted to uphold traditions that he did, and the way he built things and the connections he made with people. And it's cool to think that in a perfect world, maybe I could pass it down to my son, and it would be a fourth generation. It's a fulfilling thing to do. One, work for yourself, and two, do something that's kind of in your blood, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you said you started it as a father.
Yep.
Your day-to-day operations and how hard you push, I'm sure, it speaks to how hard you work because you have a son.
Absolutely.
Because you have a child that's at home depending on you to really make this work.
And he's seeing what being the son of an entrepreneur is like, always on the go, always doing something, meeting people, sitting in offices, talking, hanging out. So he gets it, you know.
Yeah, my daughter comes with me a lot to the office as well, sometimes. And, a lot of times I'm working from home, and, she knows that even when I'm at home, I still got to work. Yep. And, we have a team now where I'm not, I'm not the one who does
80-90% of things.
80-90% of the operations in our company. But she, one day she asked me, Daddy, what do you do for work? Because that's a subject that came up at school. And I told her, just social media, baby, mm-hmm. social media. We'll just go with that, because obviously, Mach 1 does more than just social media. We specialize in social media marketing, website development, SEO, kind of stuff like that. But now when she sees me on the phone at home, she just, says, okay, Daddy, can you get off social media now? And I'm like, Logan,
you're getting the wrong impression.
Yeah, I'm not on it for pleasure, okay? You take it easy. Daddy's got to work. And, when I get home late, she's like, okay, Daddy, now it's time to put the phone away. And a lot of times I do because, obviously we work hard, we work a lot, but we also want to make sure our families feel loved and like we're there with them and present, So, and I know you are the same way.
I got my 9-year-old son pointing out signs that are off when we're driving down the road.
Oh my gosh.
You know how it goes, man.
That's hilarious.
One day, we're not sending them in to sell for us yet, but we might have to. You can't say no to a 9-year-old trying to sell you a sign.
Absolutely.
It's un-American.
I mean, I'd send them in now. You need to have them on payroll by tomorrow morning.
There might be some labor laws coming at me.
Off the record. I'm just kidding. So what are some other ways that you foresee yourself as the company grows, going out and finding deals, maybe outside of the geographic area that you're used to?
So eventually I'd like to get Southeast wide. I'm just in North Carolina at the moment. I'd like to be in South Carolina. In a perfect world, I'm making more and more connections with corporate America, and they have big jobs going all over the Southeast. That's kind of the goal.
Getting to the next level is different from how you got to the level you're on now.
Yes. My main goal is not to grow too fast. We're a 3-man operation who started out of nothing. Started with making connection with a client that I've known for a while, sold my job, and then told them what I was doing. So sold the job, created my business. My goal is just not grow too fast. I've seen the falls and rises of a lot of sign companies. You can get into no man's land. So
Sure.
the goal is just a steady pace,
Steady. What's it
small
called?
growth,
Slow and steady?
yes. Slow and
Wins the
steady
race?
wins the race. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So what about partnering up with other companies? Do you do any of that?
Yeah, so I actually do a lot of installs for multiple other companies. One's out of Kernersville. They're strictly selling only. They don't do installs.
Oh, that's cool.
And then some fab companies that need the installers. So, we do a
When you say fab,
fabrication.
fabrication.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So that's the companies that actually do the
Yes, sir.
printout.
So
if you will.
there's very few sign companies in America that do everything. That will sell your sign, design your sign, sell you the sign,
I did not know
and
that.
build the sign. There are some handfuls, but they're almost in no man's land because they can't have installers at the same payroll. Would be very hard to keep up with. Your building, you'd have to be busy every day of the week. So
Yeah.
there tends to be sign companies like me that either sell and install and that partner with local fab companies, or there's just fabrication companies that partner
Got
with
it.
installation. They don't do the selling.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys are kind of like the specialists in certain areas.
Yes, sir.
Whereas if someone does everything,
It's
They're-
your branch gets big, so to speak. It gets
yeah,
weighed down.
it's almost not to call out anyone, but that does that. But it's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah,
kind of deal.
exactly. Yes, sir.
It's really hard to be specialized in everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. And so you specialize in
We specialize in LED signs, neon, and then electronic message center signs. The ones that look like TVs you'll see on the side of the highway.
oh, those are cool.
Yes, sir. So those are really cool. They're it's hard to keep up with the technology going into those. There's AI going in them every day now.
Yeah, that would be
It's
interesting.
wild, man. It's very interesting.
Yeah, because AI is really taking over everything.
Yes.
I mean, it's taking over. A lot of most industries. I feel like are integrating them. AI in somehow.
Yep.
Some shape or fashion.
Yep.
I know at Mach 1 Marketing we implement AI into a lot of different ways. Into our business. Do you implement AI into your business at all?
So the only way, as of right now, that we're kind of old school. So AI hasn't run its course, but the one way it's making a push into the sign industry is in message centers. So there's AI integrated in it now, where there's like people counters. So if you have a message center sign, say we're talking a real retail store, and you have the message center sign when you walk in, it'll count people and it lets
that's
you
cool.
know. Say, hey, this is the 100th customer of the day, flash sale. Or vice versa, you have this sign on the corner of let's say a car dealership, and not to name names, but there's a certain type of cars that are right there. You sell those cars. 46 of those pull up at the stoplight, 40% off. Oil prices.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the big ways it's making a push. And then AI is getting introduced into like the LED world, to where if a module goes out, it flares and sends a message, so you already know. You don't have to call somebody to diagnose what's going on.
That's super interesting that it's that. I mean, I know AI is super advanced.
It's hard to keep up with.
But
It's
holy
moving.
cow.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's like every time I hear about something new AI can do, it's like, where is the limits?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there is no limits.
It's sky's the limit.
Yeah. So starting your business, obviously going back to that, it's obvious it was a lot of, it was scary. It took a lot of guts.
Yes, sir.
Who was your support system? Did you have a support system? Who did you lean on? I mean,
My support system, honestly, would be one of my coworkers who started it with me. He came from the other company we left, and he's a little bit older than me. Knowing that we knew how to do it, and we didn't have the backing, but we had a few customers that trusted in us, and kind of just backs against the wall mentality that
Okay.
no one trusted in you, no one believes in you, but we're here to make a name for ourselves. And I'd like to think 2 years later we have made a pretty good name for ourselves.
yeah, I've heard of you guys quite a bit actually. I was working with a couple of my clients, because we have quite a few clients in Winston and the Greensboro area, Burlington, and a few of our clients we've spoke to about how to push this and that and whatever reason, and a couple of them have said, we just got a new sign, And I'm like, oh wow, it looks great. Who did
Yeah.
it? And they were like, Last Cowboy Signs.
That's awesome. I love to hear it. It's the best review you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're chanting you guys your name for the simple fact that you guys did a great job.
I want to provide a good product so you can advertise your business and make yourself more money. That's my goal.
Yeah.
If you have a great looking sign, people want to shop at your place. And it's as simple as that. An attractive sign attracts more customers.
Yeah,
And I
it's
want to
huge.
be the one that provides that
It's huge.
at a quality price, you know. There's
Yeah.
a lot of funky stuff that can happen when you deal with sign companies because, hey, let's be honest, we're dealing with signs that could be 20 foot up in the air. You need to have a company you trust doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of goes hand in hand with, you get what you. I don't want to say, you definitely get what you pay for. I'm
Yeah.
not saying go after the most expensive,
Yeah,
but also, understand that price is a measurement of value,
absolutely.
not a measurement of time,
Absolutely.
especially in this industry.
Yep.
A lot of people, I think, in the creative industry, we actually said this last week, they price themselves out based off the time they put into, which is the worst way to price. You got to price based off the value you bring.
Absolutely. Me and my coworker were talking about that. So because I'm really good at putting up a sign, say I'm doing an install, because I'm really good at it and I do it 2 times faster than my competition, why should you be punished? Why should I be punished? Why should I charge half the time when, if you got to value your talents. If you're good at it, you need to value that talent and price accordingly. Mm-hmm. Just because you do it 2 times faster, that means you're doing it 2 times faster and just as good. So you need to price accordingly.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is your goals as far as your team wise? I mean, are you looking at some point to expand your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to expand soon, but all in due time. We don't want to grow too fast. I would like the goal in 10 years is to have a full-size shop, multiple bays and have multiple people running it and being maybe multiple locations, but it's what the future and God holds for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're never in control.
It's kind of playing it one day at a time with the plan.
Absolutely. We don't have a plan. We have a thought process. And the plan just kind of comes every day.
Yeah, it's kind of molded every day based off the results of today.
Exactly.
So Last Cowboy Signs. The demographic when you first started, your target market when you first started the business, has that evolved?
Yeah, somewhat. My target market was just a few of the clients I had around me, and then now I'm reaching out to the city and seeing what else they have, seeing if the new products coming, and so my client market has drastically changed. Yep. Got
it. Okay, so your demographic has changed. What about the product itself? Have you, I know you obviously gave a great product when you first started because you already knew the ins and outs of the game. You knew the ins and outs of the game. Has that evolved, or the way that you've gone about,
my planning process has gotten better, getting jobs done. In terms of quality of the product, it's stayed the same. It's at rate, if not better than all the other products out there. So the product isn't going to change. It's going to stay the same, if not get better. But the precision of the product, like how I'm getting to the sign put up, communication, it comes with time. When you're just a salesman and you're selling signs, it's a lot different than running a business, talking to clients, making sure your coworkers are there, they got the right tools. So my overall objective has gotten tighter.
Got it. Okay. So the process has gotten more efficient.
Yes.
Got it. And that's, I think, could be expected when you get a little bit seasoned within this game we call business, right?
Yes.
Which a lot of people, they don't also see the value in when you go into the price. I feel like not to go back to the price too many times, but excuse me, you're seasoned, you're more efficient, your process is better.
I'm looking at if I do a survey, some guy might charge it differently, but I'm looking at a wall. I know what's behind that wall. I know how hard it is to get a sign up or what they're going to fight for. So yeah, I mean, it definitely changes for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel the pressure
every day
being 2 years into the business?
Every day.
every day. What's that like?
Diamonds are built under pressure. I love it. I think it's great. I said before I started this business, I was built for this. I knew what I was getting into. I started this business at 24 years old. I had a kid at 19, so I knew it had to work.
Who do you feel the most pressure from?
From me, knowing I just got 2 other guys, counting on you every week, and to make sure you got money for your family, and to make sure you're putting back into the business what needs to be put in to grow and to be successful long term. So most of the pressure is self-instilled, but I think it's a good thing, and I think it's successful entrepreneurs feel the pressure and they strive under pressure. You shouldn't, if you fold under pressure, if your flight or flight is to run, this isn't for you. Yeah. This isn't for you. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because, I mean, I feel pressure every day. Every entrepreneur that I've ever met feels pressure.
You should.
And absolutely, you definitely should. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. And I feel like a lot of people think just because, the business is doing well, then you're doing great.
Yeah.
That's not always true.
No, it's not the case. I mean, successful business is putting back into the business, and it's not like this guy at the top, the CEO, or me, is making a lot of money. We're putting back into the business, and we're making sure our guys have what they need. We have plans for the future. There's a lot to this.
Yeah, the business has to eat first.
Yes, absolutely.
And the business, a lot of people say, well, you are the business. That's not true. Mm-hmm. No, the business has to eat first.
Yep.
And sometimes when you feed the business what is required, there's nothing left over. Yeah, exactly. And you're just kind of having to sit there.
Side jobs. That's what my recommendation to any entrepreneur is. Don't be afraid to get a side job.
Oh my gosh.
Make your money, man.
Yeah.
Make your money, because you're only young once. You shouldn't work your life away. But if you're hungry and building a business, you got to be hungry and you got to do it.
You got to make sure that you're able to make it to the next day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When I first started, my business, for the first 2 years, I worked at side jobs.
Yep.
I worked at a car wash and at a restaurant.
Yep.
I worked both jobs, and I worked any open hour that I had available to the business.
Yep.
And it was not easy.
Plus long nights, I'm sure, always on the computer. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one day, the longest day I've ever had, I had a meeting with a gentleman named Bill at 6:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I believe it was at Starbucks. 6:30 in the morning. And I had a full day of work. I went to a networking event that night, right after the office. It was a networking event called Venture Cafe. While I was at Venture Cafe, a prospect that I had wanted to have a meeting with hit me up and said, "Hey, I'm on the way back from Charlotte. Can we meet at your office when I get back?" I met him at the office at 10:30 that night, and I was there until 1:45.
Early days, long nights. That's what it takes.
Yeah. So 6:30 in the morning until about 2 a.m. the next day.
Yep.
And that was my longest day. And I had a mentor at the time. His name was David Mounts. He's the retired CEO of Inmar, and he's an incredible guy. I told him about it, and he said, "Welcome to entrepreneurship."
Exactly. Yep.
Welcome to entrepreneurship. Yep. Hey, there was no pity. There was not pity. There was no sympathy. There was like, "Hey, good job."
But
are you looking for congratulations?
You got to want that. That's a great day if you ask me.
Absolutely.
That's what being an entrepreneur is. Obviously, you want to spend time with your family. You don't want to be away that long. Yeah. But that's building your future. That's what you signed up to do.
Yeah, it was kind of,
when I have to look at it like that. People that look at it any other way, they're not going to make it.
Absolutely. When I mentioned it, he's okay. Yeah. Great.
Yep.
You do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're not doing it again, what are you doing wrong?
Exactly.
So it's interesting, the entrepreneur schedule. I mean, when I first started and I was working 2 jobs and also working as many hours as I could with the business, I missed vacations and I missed parties. And I'm sure you've missed vacations.
Oh yeah. Miss a lot. I'm very fortunate enough to be able to. My mother lives at the beach, so a free vacation is always going to visit Yaya or Mom.
Oh, nice.
So
okay,
that's
helpful.
That's been the vacation the past 2 years.
Yeah,
just going to visit Mom.
Let's hit up Mom after this.
We'll
Let's go.
We'll run out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's helpful, but I'm sure you've missed parties, and I'm sure you've missed time with friends. And
Absolutely.
Have you lost any friends?
Absolutely, a lot of friends. When you devote so much time, and we're all growing up too, and we're all getting serious about our futures more. If you haven't been, you're definitely doing so now, I'd say.
Yeah.
So that comes with life, I think, and you got to understand that before. It's not always about the entrepreneurship, but I think it has a toll on friendships as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, our schedules are crazy. You can't always plan. I know my girlfriend's not a very fond of me not being able to plan things during the week, so I can only imagine friends that takes a toll on friendships as well.
Yeah. Now you were speaking about your girlfriend. How has she been, with dating an entrepreneur?
She's awesome. She's my rock, man. If it weren't for her, it'd be a lot different of a story for sure. She knows there's great weeks and there's rougher weeks. There's lean weeks. She knows how it is, and she knows that we're in control of our time, and how we spend our time is how it's going to reflect in not necessarily monetary values, but success in the business. And so if it weren't for her, I would be in a completely different situation. And
from you saying that, I'm assuming that she is probably the most supportive person.
Absolutely.
That you have in your corner.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. That's so important.
Can't forget my 9-year-old kid. He's number one. Goes on almost every job when he's not at school.
Wow. That is pretty impressive. That's, and that's at 9 years old, those are going to be the memories he has for the rest of his life.
Yeah. And that's, I kind of want to instill that with him. I want him to see his dad worked hard. Money's not easy. Mm-hmm. The price of $1 that you were taught when you were a child. And I think successful people were taught. People that are successful don't think things come easy. They realize the price that it took for their parents to get what they got, and I think it's important for them to see. Yeah,
I think it's crucial for someone to see their parents really grind it out, because
absolutely
they're gonna grow up with that same mindset. Yeah. It's not handed over.
There's no failure. Failure is only when you quit.
Absolutely.
You have to. If you don't quit, you didn't fail.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be something that he holds on to, for the simple fact that his dad, his hero, his favorite person on earth, it says on a daily basis, every day he chooses to go to the office.
Yep.
Every day you choose to get up on that lift and you put up a new sign, you're saying that. Maybe not out loud, but you're saying that.
Yeah.
Every day you show up, you're saying that.
Absolutely.
Obviously you're super talented. You have a lot, in your history. You could go and probably find a job working, probably doing the same thing.
Absolutely, I could. Absolutely.
Making great money.
Yep.
Where you don't have to worry about growing the business. But that's not the destiny you've chosen for yourself.
My philosophy, Austin, you can work 60 years for someone else, and when you retire, you have a little retirement bump they give you. You get Social Security, but you worked your whole life. You spent your whole life away from your children. My philosophy in entrepreneurship is, I'm going to run this business. Yeah, I might spend some time away from my children, but when I do retire, I'm giving them something. I'm not just getting a retirement. I give them a business, whether if they don't want to be involved, they can sell it. But here's my gift. This is what I did when I was away from you. This is what you get. But, it's a token of my appreciation to them.
Yeah. What's, wrapping up kind of our session here, what is to be expected? What can someone, keep an eye out for from Last Cowboy Signs? What is something to get excited for?
Growth and message center signs. I'm breaking out into that marketplace. You're going to see me with signs that look like TVs and retro neon.
That's cool.
Yes, sir.
How can anyone get a hold of you if they want to learn more or get to talk to you?
We're on all social medias, Facebook and Instagram. We have a website, lastcowboysigns.com. You can check us out there. Instagram would probably be the easiest way to reach out.
Okay.
I have email tagged along on my bio there as well.
Awesome. Well, Harrison, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we hope to have you back on later on in the future to kind of hear about the growth over at Last Cowboy Signs.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you so much for joining us on Marketing with Moody. We look forward to seeing you again next week.